Also not saying this from a position of like, even though I saw some success early in my career, I also started pretty early. And so I had 9 failed businesses, 9, before I had one that really worked. And so I bring this up to say that, like, I don't know what failure you're on right now. Maybe you're on 0 failures, you're on 1 failure or 2 failures, but you have way more failures in you. At the end of the day, like, one of the big realizations I had is that since life is an infinite game, and what that means is that there are games where you have a defined time period, and at the end you count the score, right? And then there's infinite games where the only point of the game is to keep playing the game. And so, like, the point of marriage is not to get married, it's to stay married. The point of health is not to get healthy, it's to stay healthy. And the point of business is not to get into business, but to stay in business. And so basically the only thing that you have to do to stay in business is to choose to continue to fight. And so once you realize that, then you realize that you become a success the moment you decide you are, because being successful is far more about being in the game, about being in the arena. And so when you're in your 20s, what you lack in experience, you have to make up for in effort and hours. And believing otherwise leads to a life of honestly well-deserved mediocrity. So if you're hearing this, you're like, okay, I got it. I need to take more bets, and I need to take maybe riskier bets because my downside is nothing. All right, well, which bets do I take? So number 2, don't follow your passion. So passion is vague, and so it's very difficult to say, I like this thing more than this thing. But what you can say is, I'm better at this than that. And so passion usually then comes from competence, not creates competence. And so we usually like things that we get good at rather than getting good at things that we like, right? And so this is the thing, like, that I think confuses a lot of people. And so the other flip side of this is that enjoying something doesn't even guarantee that you're good at it or that you're gonna be able to make money from it. And I remember my dad used to tell me when I was much younger, he said, listen, if I were following my passion, I'd be a bartender at a ski slope, right? He said, if you could just make money, he said, the rest of your life, you can do whatever you want. And I actually think it was very practical advice for me, and I'm very grateful that I got that. But the thing is that getting good at anything, you have to slog through this period where you're probably not going to be passionate about it because it's very boring, it's very monotonous, it's very repetitive, right? It's one thing to say, oh, I like ping pong. It's another thing to say, like, I hit 500 forehands and 500 backhands every morning and every night, right? It's a different level of dedication that you have to it, and that isn't going to be something you're passionate about. You might like playing the game, but getting good at the game are 2 very different things, right? And so it sets this false expectation that I think ultimately harms more people. And I think one of the biggest reasons of not following your passion is that your passions will change as you age. I promise you, the things that I was passionate about when I was 20 is not things I'm passionate about now, and I'm sure the things I'm passionate about when I'm in my mid and late 40s are gonna be different than things I am now. Same as 50s and 60s. And so this idea that, like, I have to find this one thing, it puts a ton of pressure on that thing that it has to be perfect forever. And if it's not gonna be perfect forever, then why don't we be practical now so that we can give ourselves options later? So fundamentally, all we're gonna look for are things that you're good at that people already spend money on, because that creates a very high likelihood outcome of you creating something that you can exchange in the marketplace. Once you've decided on something that you want to get better at, you're already good at it, you want to get better at it, which is hopefully, maybe it is your passion, which would be amazing, but a lot of times it's not. The next thing is you have to get good at one thing.
What you want to do is save hundreds when Liberty Mutual customizes your car insurance.
That's great, but can you ask your friend?
Think about the equal opposite of this. How would I get